Hey, Raveen, congratulations on your recent appointment as the board of AT.
Yep.
Yeah. What positive change do you want to influence in your current position within AT?
As a director of AT,
Yes.
I think Auckland Transport firstly needs to gain trust of Aucklanders.
Yep.
Okay. So its reputation isn't where it should be. It's quite low. It needs to, so I would say as a director, first, one of the things I would like to do is get Auckland Transport's reputation where it needs to be.
Yep.
One that is trusted by Auckland Council as its shareholders and by the people of Auckland who rely and need public transport and the roading network.
Why do you think that is?
Sorry, what?
Why do you think AT does not have the trust of the people?
Well, I think, firstly, any monopoly organization, and I used to be at Watercare, but if you are in a monopoly organization, your customers, the stakeholders, the people that you are serving have no choice.
Yep.
And
Well-
when they have no choice, the expectation is that you need to be better than what you would need to be if you were in a competitive environment. Because then the customer has choice. If you're not happy with Auckland Transport, you can go to Company B or Company C.
Yeah.
But if Auckland Transport is the only organization, then you expect it to be very good. That's the first thing.
Is the expectation?
Yeah, it's the expectation. Secondly, if you're an organization that generally provides very reliable services, whether it's water service, telecommunication services, bus services, train services, the people then get used to that high reliability.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start failing in that reliability, again, you lose their trust.
Yeah.
So if you come from the third world, where you're lucky to get 2 hours of water supply, if you get a whole day of water supply, you're really happy, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in a country where you're getting water supply all the time, 24/7, and then it's off for half an hour, you're really pissed off, right?
100%.
Yeah?
No, I come from a third world country as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
I come from India originally.
Yeah.
So I understand that. Yeah.
So I think those two things play
Yeah.
into it. But then I think Auckland Transport, from my point of view,
Yeah.
failed to connect with its people.
Interesting.
So as an organization, and when I was at Watercare, that's one of the things you got to do. You can't be seen to be arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer in organizational structure where those entities that are providing services should not have regulatory powers, because organizations that provide service but also have regulatory powers become arrogant.
Yep.
So if you're just a service organization, you can create a culture of providing service.
And
You're
great
subservient.
service.
You're
Yep.
subservient.
Yeah.
I used to remind people at Watercare that our name was Watercare Services Limited. We're providing services.
WSL.
Yeah, so Auckland Transport is also providing services.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I would like to do is improve the trust, improve the passenger services, the customer service that we provide to our customers. So all the cancellations and things that are happening, whether it was because of COVID, because of driver shortages or whatever. And then, the quality of the roads, potholes.
For a first world country, it's not too bad. But-
Yeah, exactly. It's not that bad. But again, it's all relative.
Yeah.
And then I think there's this perception of whether the money is being well spent.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's ratepayers and taxpayers' money that is being spent. Is the money being spent wisely?
Yeah.
And I think that when we see lots of cones everywhere and no one working, and the perception is, well, this is not an organization that is spending our money, the public's money, well. Internally, I'm sure as a director, I will find there are passionate, dedicated individuals who are doing their best to provide the services for Auckland.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect, and I think it's a cultural one. So we would...
And you
as
think
a
the
board-
budget cuts have nothing to do with it?
I think budget cuts will always have something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I'm also a firm believer that as we do at home, if we're at home and we have our needs and we have our income, you have to cut your cloth to suit,
Yeah.
right? we can't be individuals or organizations that expect whatever money we need to be coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
We're not the CRL, right? It's going to cost what it's going to cost, right? Because the government and Auckland Council is going to find the money.
Yeah.
That's not who we are.
Yeah.
So when there are budget cuts, we need to learn how to become more efficient, more effective. Are we spending the money in the right places, and are we spending it wisely? So I think that would be the other challenge, that funding is going to be a constraint.
And yeah, it's going to become
It's already
worse.
a constraint, yeah. Then we have cost of living crisis. We can't keep asking the people of Auckland to just pay more in rates because they're saying, we're paying, how are you spending my dollar?
Yeah.
Demonstrate that you're spending my money wisely.
Yeah. So let's say if you take countries like England and Singapore, they've
Yeah.
got really, really, really efficient public transportation systems.
Yeah,
Amazing systems. Like,
yeah,
I know it's always on the minute that it's on the board. The train will be there, the bus will be there.
yeah.
Yeah. What can we learn from them to bring to New Zealand?
Well, firstly, we should look at other organizations in other countries to say they're doing things, and we should, what can we learn from them?
Yep.
Rather than try and do everything ourselves.
Yeah,
you know.
100%. We don't need to recreate the wheel.
We don't have to recreate. And I
Yeah.
think there is a little bit of this. We want to do things that are bespoke in New Zealand. We want to be innovative. We have this number 8 wire culture.
Yeah.
But the reality is others are doing well around the world, and we should learn from them. I think the advantage Singapore has a very small footprint.
Agreed.
So does
geographically,
London.
it's not big.
Yeah. And they've got scale in terms of people.
Yeah.
So they could invest.
Mm-hmm.
The geography helps as well.
Yeah. Agreed. They
Auckland
don't
is
have
very
volcanic
narrow.
soil.
Yeah.
They don't have volcanic soil. They don't have rock.
They don't have rock. It's not all scoria. So they
Yeah.
have gone down. They've gone deep. Right?
Yeah.
Singapore, most of the things they're doing is underground because the above ground is premium.
Yeah.
They don't allow car parking on the streets.
Yeah.
Right? Why would you do that? That's premium space.
Yeah.
So I would say that there's a lot for us to learn. But look, I live in Mission Bay, so I used to take the train from Aoraki to get into the city. It was usually on time. I love it, 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But then they started doing work on where you park.
Yeah.
So you couldn't park,
Yeah.
so I couldn't take the train.
Right.
And now, of course, the trains are not working because Kiwi Rail's working on the tracks.
Yeah.
All of those things destroy the confidence the public have in public transport.
Yeah.
So they are buses that run instead, right? But as a user, I've started driving into the CBD. I don't like driving into the CBD, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing, right? So if what we do with our public transport system, if we remove the convenience or the reliability and we shift people back into their cars, then it is very difficult to get them back onto
It
public
really
transport.
is. But if you think about it, the number of cars per household
Yep.
in New Zealand, there are more cars than people in households
Yeah.
in the whole of New Zealand, and that's a proven fact. So how are you going to change that? How do we as a community change that?
I think it will change slowly. We have 2 cars, my wife and I.
Yeah, we have
But-
2
but-
cars too.
But I don't need 2 cars now.
You don't?
No.
Because you live in Mission
I
Bay?
always drive my wife's car. So we don't need 2 cars. So we just have to make a decision at some point, I think most people have cars because of convenience.
Yeah.
And in Auckland, people are living in one suburb, working in another suburb. Their spouses are working or partners are working in another suburb.
Yeah.
Children are going to school somewhere else. It's all over the place. It hasn't sort of come to an equilibrium where you say, I'm living in the suburb where I'm working and my children are going to school there. Some of them are lucky to do that, That would be great, where your children can walk to school because they're so close. They don't have to be dropped. So there's so many other factors. Parents are dropping their kids to school rather than kids walking to school.
Yeah.
Which is creating traffic problems, but also I think the children are not getting the benefits of walking to school, which is what I did.
Yeah.
We used to walk for 2 kilometers to go to school. The weather doesn't help. if it's too wet, too cold.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, reliability of public transport, well, that's exactly where we want to be.
And also availability, isn't it? Reliability is one thing.
Yeah,
Because I live in Hobsonville.
yeah,
I'll tell you what, we have no public transport.
yeah.
None. The closest bus station to me would be, I don't know, at least 2 kilometers away
Okay.
from where we live, Scott Point. That's just an example, right?
Yes, yes.
So it's availability of that as well. So where can I access public transport closest to me?
yeah,
So I'm like, I mean, even given that choice, why would I uptake that when I can just drive my car? So this thought process is running in my head. So I've got to wait, catch a bus to somewhere else. By the time I get there, it's
yeah.
I've wasted so much time.
Exactly.
Like I just said on that TikTok that we saw earlier as well. Time is more expensive than money to me.
Yes, yes.
You know, I mean, I could lose all the money in the world and make it
Yeah.
back, no problem. You know,
You
could
can't
lose
get
it.
your time back.
Nah, it's gone forever.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So we have to take into account people's value of time.
Yeah,
I mean, when I was a student, I used to take the bus all the time, right?
yeah.
And what I like about taking public transport, it gives me the time to reflect. I mean, some people are busy with their phones and doing other things. I just like time to reflect, you know? And
Yeah.
so you're sitting there, you can see other people's behaviors, and you can see, you begin to notice things that you don't otherwise notice.
Fair.
you know?
Yeah, because when you're driving, you're focused on the road.
Yeah, because when you're driving, so I mean, not everyone's like me, but I like the time to reflect. But convenience is important.
Absolutely, yeah.
And where time, so I would be concerned where people from lower socioeconomic groups who end up having lots of vehicles because they all have to go drive different places to earn their living. If they can get on public transport and it's affordable for them to get to their work, that will start addressing some of the equity issues we've got.
No.
It's a complex challenge.
100%, it's not a simple
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah.
But yeah, and one that I have every confidence that you will attempt to solve in your time as director right here.
With others.
With others,
I
of
can
course.
never do it alone.
Oh,
yes.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a team
Yeah.
of people. Absolutely.